Y'all sit back and watch me speak. About to take over your screen. Talking Bulls in 93. Talking mom, I'm on TV. Y'all know all I do is me. All I do is me. Y'all sit back and watch me speak. Y'all sit back and all I know, my money green. About to snap and make a scene. My cup off and make this free. My cup off and make them scream. Go back off for TMZ. Y'all sit back and watch me speak. Y'all sit back and watch me speak. Y'all sit back and watch. Watch me. Watch me. Watch me. Sit back and watch. Sit back. Sit back. Sit back. Sit back. Money long, nothing on credit. I got style, don't catch no feelings. All this bread ain't got no lettuce. I got style, don't catch no feelings. Watch me. Watch me. Sit back and watch. Sit back and watch. Sit back and watch. If it ain't got style, I ain't with it. I ain't with it. If it ain't got style, I ain't with it. Look. If it ain't got style, I ain't with it. I ain't with it. If it ain't got style, I ain't with it. Look. Watch me. Sit back and watch. Watch me. Sit back. Sit back. Watch me. Sit back and watch. Sit back. Sit back. Sit back. Sit back.
Hello everyone and welcome to Blue Otter Gold Wednesdays. This is going to be another week of exciting Blue Otter Gold League action on the Season 9 Week 4 of the regular season. My name is Moose and I'm joined today by Romeo. Romeo, how's it going today?
Hello. It is an awesome day. We got two great teams going head to head. I'm about to have a great time. What about you, Moose?
Oh, it's always fun. It's always fun to cast gold, and for some reason or another, Bully keeps inviting me back. I don't know why, but I'm here, so I'm excited to be here, and always fun to be able to get into some gold level action. Now, moving into week 4, this is the time where teams start to really, separate themselves between being a top tier team, a mid tier team, and a team that's definitely not going to make it into the playoffs. So both of these teams already showing that they are on the top, or at least at the very top of their division right now. CB Shield versus Hyperion Gaming, looking to be able to get themselves another win here today. What do you know about them, Romeo? What can we expect from these two teams as we move into this draft?
Well, these two teams are both in the top 3 seeds of the Demacian division. Of course, CB Boulder remaining undefeated at the top of the table, 6-0 game record, 3-0 in the series. Meanwhile, Hyperion, they've been having some tough matchups, but they've always managed, for the most part, to swing out a series aside from their one loss against the second-seeded team in the Goblins. So these are two Titans going head-to-head here.
Yeah, and it's going to be two teams that are still looking to be able to get their best seeding possible as we move into the playoffs. The latter stages of the regular season is the opportunity to be able to do that, and so as we jump into the draft, we're going to get a comfort pick for Hyperion. It's going to be that Amumu coming out, looking to be able to utilize that Great Curse of Sad Mummy and the Bandage Toss that comes in. Now, looking at Hyperion's roster, that does appear to be going into the support role. It could potentially still go into the jungle, but there are a lot of games that they played it there in the bottom lane. So to be expected that we will be seeing that there. However, on the other side of the coin, Jinx and J4, two really high priority top tier picks in season 13 that have been rising in the ranks at every level of play in League of Legends, are now on the table. CB Shield is building already a roster that can deal a lot of damage and get those resets for that Jinx.
Yeah, they definitely are. I'm not super surprised. I think Cataclysm also is one of the most strong ultimates inside the game, especially with Jinx, obviously, because of the explosive damage. Also, I find J4 is probably the best jungler in the game right now, if you're asking me, especially with just the stats on top of him and being able to like get around the map so quickly, so early, and just do so much to your lanes in the early game. It's just been a monumental impact of J4 in the Rift lately.
Yeah, I agree with that. But the issue that I always run into whenever I play J4 or when I see players, especially at the gold and platinum level play, is the scaling and the snowball potential that Jarvan has. Yes, you can get those early kills. Yes, you can get that really early gore drinker, maybe go for that stride breaker, whatever that may be. Get yourself an early second item, early boots, yada, yada, yada. But the longer that the game goes on, you're really just now becoming an ult bot. You're trying to be able to use that Cataclysm to great effect. And if the rest of your team is not able to be at the same pace, if you're not able to snowball your lanes into getting those kills, it could end up resulting in you kind of stalling out at the 25-30 minute mark when dragons and barons really start to be an issue there. So you need things that can still scale up relatively well and can secure those kills as we move into the mid to the late game. Hyperion is going to lock in the Xayah and will go for the Ornn B3. Draft-wise, that is a very interesting decision that they have allowed for their mid lane and their assuming their jungler to be the two final pickups here. It means that the Jax is going to be an immediate lock-in for CB Shield.
Yeah, and that's gonna be a interesting matchup there. Of course, Jax is going to be able to be very, very punishing in that early game towards that Ornn and probably be able to dominate his lane, which kind of just frees up J4 to focus on his bot side and see if he can try to punish that Xayah before she hits 6. I think that's a really, really strong pickup for the side of CB, and it's going to be interesting to see how Wash Cycle is going to play that matchup in the top lane.
Yeah, I think that when we look at, Hyperion's roster right now, the Xayah is relatively safe, or can be relatively safe in the early stages of the game if you are able to get a good lane state. Jinx is going to not be too much of a threat as long as you don't get hit by the chompers, as long as you don't get hit by any CC. So we have to see what CB Gaming does decide to go for in the support role here. If they go for an enchanter or something that is like a tank, that's going to really determine what Hyperion can do in terms of what this Amumu can do as we move into the early game to potentially counter out this J4 as they go for those mid, top, and bottom lane ganks and potentially try to go for those early neutral objectives. When you go for that Ornn, it does make it to where the top side of the Rift is a little bit difficult to get that Rift Herald. J4 and Jax should be able to easily do it, but that does not mean the same thing to happen is going to be happening over at the Dragon Pit. However, Renata Glass now getting locked in here. That is a little bit of CC. That is actually a lot of potential damage and scaling as we move into the mid game for CB. I'm very interested to see how Hyperion is going to be able to navigate that, because hostile takeover can be a big problem for Xayah. And even for now, this Kayn that gets locked in, if you get hit by it, it's just so much potential conditional CC that CB Shield has been able to lock in here.
It absolutely is the case. It's going to be a really interesting bot lane and team fight dynamic when these two teams collide. But something I find that Kayn pickup so interesting, because when I was scouting earlier today, Jesus Juice has played a ton of games on Kayn, but I didn't think he would necessarily pull it out in this setting. I know Kayn's been getting a little bit stronger on the Rift, but it is still one of those pickups that's really weird because of how long it takes usually for Kayn to have an impact, especially into a J4.
Yeah, and it I don't necessarily disagree with, going in for something like a Kane, especially if it's a comfort pick up here. Like you said, Jesus Juice does have a lot of games played on it, and currently at Gold 2, that does mean that they're kind of at the top tier level of play in the Blue Water League in terms of players. Yes, there's the Platinum 4 cap, but in most games, a Gold 2, Gold 1 is probably the high, or like is about the average level of play that we're going to be seeing. So being confident, being competent in the champion can be enough for you to win out in these games. You do have the chance to go for that Shadow Assassin and just obliterate a Jinx and a Talia before they're able to get that damage in. You could go for Rost here. We'll find out when we get into the game what keystones will kind of signal to us what he does decide to go for here. But with the Ornn getting locked in, along with the Victor, the opportunity to be able to get some burst damage down, maybe go in for those picks is definitely there. CB Shield, on the other hand, going in with that Talia as that last pick, going up against the Victor, it's going to be something that's going to be able to scale up, and it's going to be something that can also provide a little bit more terrain on the map as well, make it a little bit difficult for the Ornn and the Victor to maybe get into position for these fights.
Yeah, I certainly have to agree with that. I think looking at these two comps, CB Shield has a really, really good comp that I can easily see how they're going to play off each other. Of course, things like Cataclysm and the Wall for Talia are going to do a ton to isolate members of Hyperion and really just let them pick them off going into team fights. And of course, they have a pretty decent early game when it comes to J4 and Jax. And then as they go to the mid and late game, of course, things like Jinx and Talia are really going to pick up. And that hostile takeover going to come in a big effect. Meanwhile, on Hyperion, it's interesting because I feel like the bot lane, like Xayah and Mumu's not a horrible combo. It's pretty decent. I think it can be really good if the bandages are, I'm losing the word here, but if the bandages are like buffered right, I think Ornn into Jax is kind of a whatever lane. You're just sitting there to try to farm up. I think it was weird to pick it so early, especially though when you're picking a Kayn as your fourth pick. It's like, I'm not really sure why we took the Ornn there like so early, but I mean, I think what's really going to be the wild card in this game is that Kayn. Are we going to see just a farming Kayn that's going to try to like play traditionally, or are we going to see a Kayn that's trying to get to his form as quickly as possible to be able to keep up with the J4?
Something like that, yeah. Like, we got to find out, and we get into the mid game, how well Kayn has been able to stack up, what the CS difference is going to be between the Xayah and the Jinx. Ghost Machine, I think, really needs to have a pop-off game here for Hyperion, and I'm really questioning now, how are they going to be able to navigate the Jinx coming in along with that Renata in the laning phase? Not necessarily an impossible matchup, especially since you are able to dodge a lot of that damage with the Featherstorm if you do land it correctly. But that's, I think, the joy of going for gold level games, is that there is the chance for a player who is really competent in a champion to be able to pop off. And that is going to be, I think, what is the difference maker here. How well can some of these players pop off with these champions that they have a lot of games played? Pink Penguin playing as Adamumu, going with, a 2.01 KDA is not bad in the support role, especially when you're playing that Amumu. A lot of games played for Jesus Juice on that Kayn, like we had alluded to before, not potentially in Season 13, but it just in general with the Kayn, knows what he's doing with it. So Hyperion does have the chance to be able to pop off in singular lanes. The composition in terms of being able to go for a great team fight and to be able to get that CC is definitely there with the Amumu and the Ornn, but it is all so conditional. And CB Shield's composition just looks a little bit more developed. It looks a little bit more stable in all stages of the game, and you have to shout out CB Shield for being able to find a draft that can do that really effectively here.
Absolutely. I think, yeah, I completely agree with you. When it comes to the draft, CB Shields is something that, like, if I'm looking at it, I'm like, yeah, this is a very, very solid draft. And they definitely have, like, a very cohesive way of playing through the entire game. Whereas you look at Hyperion's draft, and there's a lot of questions, of course, like you've been alluding to. But there is also a clear way that they can kind of play these team fights. Like you mentioned, Amumu's Curse the Sad Mummy is going to be a massive part of what their team wants to do, especially that added true damage alongside a Victor when the scaling comes into play. Yeah, of course, Call the Forge God can be a great way to initiate a fight, and having that Kayn on the flank, if that Kayn can somehow find its way onto a Jinx, onto a Talia, especially if they do elect to go blue Kayn, can completely terrorize a fight for CB Shield, which honestly, considering how stuck to their game plan CB Shield has been and just being able to dismantle teams one by one, being able to throw a curveball in there like a Kayn might just be the way to bring down the top dogs.
Well, we will have to find out how it does play out as we move into it. Okay, before we go any further here, before we take it to a break, I'm hearing in the chat that the way that I'm saying Hyperion is wrong. Excuse me, pardon me. I have had many years of saying Hyperion. I used to play a lot of Smash, and Hyperion was my gamer tag. So it's gonna take a little bit of time for me to get used to it. But I've been told what the pronunciation is. Hyperion. Hyperion. I got you. I'll do it. I promise. I said Hyperion. I don't know what's going on. Hyperion. Okay, well, it's Hyperion. Regardless, Hyperion. I'll make sure that it's right. Regardless, we're going to take that quick break. I'm going to get yelled at in production, and we'll be right back.
We'll whip him into shape, guys.
Welcome back, everybody, to the BOL Gold League Week 4. This is Game 1, the start of this best-of-3 series, Hyperion Gaming versus CB Shield. We're going to get the immediate Death Brush start here on red side for CB Shield, trying to be able to maybe find a play, but more or less just protecting that blue buff. Going to see a 5-point start from Hyperion Gaming. Let's see who's going to be able to take this win. I'm super excited to see this start.
I am absolutely too. One thing to note so far, though, is Jesus Juice, of course, running that Conqueror, meaning it could still either be that Blizzard style of Kane, or they might just be hard committing to Ross. Still a little bit too early to tell, but of course, it's not going to be the full blue Kane assassin going up on the side of Hyperion. But of course, every great match starts off with a beautiful pause.
Fairly normal, run-of-the-mill, and it's to be expected with the amazingly new clients that League of Legends has built for their game. Regardless of that, we could talk about the keystones here. We could talk about what we've got. Conqueror build going to be for a Jesus Juice on this Kane. Other than that, an Exhaust is going to be coming out for Ghost Machine. No Cleanse, no Heal, no Ignite. Wanting to go for that Exhaust, thinking that they're going to be the one that's going to be dove upon it. It does mean, however, that they could go for a play onto Induced or AFK Boulder to potentially get them slowed and get those early kills in the laning phase, but I don't think that that's what the Exhaust is used for here.
No, it definitely is more likely going to be if they get attacked by a Jarvan trying to use it to peel them off. Of course, if that Jinx gets excited trying to exhaust or slow her down, get away. However, it absolutely could be used aggressively if they're able to find an entryway. And of course, as we can see so far, Sir Jackson is starting on that bot side. So if he's not looking to do that 2-camp to bot side, it's more than likely that Ghost Machine and Pink Penguin will be able to be unaffected in that bot lane for a while.
Yeah, and it does give the opportunity here for CB Shield as well to potentially play towards the top side of the Rift, get that Jax going. Wash Cycle on the Ornn is easier to kill in the early stages of the game when they don't have a lot of that resistances, they don't have a lot of that health built up. And if you are able to get the early teleport out of Wash Cycle, Outrage is going to have the opportunity to be able to maybe get a lot of advantage in CS and in just potential scaling and to be that split pushing menace that they've got. And as you can see, 2 teleports from Firefox and Wash Cycle on Hyperion Gaming, opportunity for them to try to go in against them. But if Outrage is able to get ahead, you know it's going to be so hard for them to stop it from happening.
Yeah, but on the flip side, though, if Outrage is not ahead, it could be very, very difficult for CB Shield, especially once the ornaments start flying in. And of course, Jackson, one of those champions where oftentimes he wants to get ahead in lane. And I think, especially in this lane, and when the Divine finally comes out, I think Jackson needs to find a way to get ahead of Ornn, because if that lane's in an even state without getting a lot of pressure away from the other side of the maps, like trying to bait Kane into ganking topside, it's going to be a little bit difficult when they get to the 5v5 stage.
2 minutes into the game, laning phase has begun, and for both of these teams, an opportunity to either secure their spot as a top-seeded team within their division and to potentially present themselves as a playoff and champion contender. Now, there are a lot of teams that are playing in Blue Water Gold League, a lot of opportunities for us to see great plays coming through. This is one of those games where we decide, you know, who is going to be at the cream of the crop here in this division and who might have the chance to get a really good scene moving into the playoffs in a couple of weeks.
Absolutely. If CB Shield wins this game, they stand undefeated still, and with at that point picking up the 4th win of like the 4th series win in a row, that can be huge for them and just at staying at the top of the table, right? However, we're getting an early gank here.
Yes, and that was what we were talking about, and now Outrage is going to potentially be in trouble. Did not get hit by any sort of knockup or anything, but the flag and drag from Sir Jackson. That's Jesus Juice, forced to flash away. First blood for Outrage, and that is what we were looking to see from Sir Jackson on this J4.
And of course, that's one of the cons of playing early game Kane and trying to keep up with a J4. The second he is there and matches you, there's no way you're winning, especially not Kane Ornn. I would have figured that if they were trying to do a play like that, maybe head towards your bot side where you have the Amumu. Of course, I don't blame them for not expecting Sir Jackson to be there, but that's just a testament to how creative Sir Jackson's pathing was on that J4. Of course, starting the blue buff and heading straight towards that top side, getting the counter gank out, and he just played it so reserved. Sat in that bush, waited for Outrage to lure them down there, and the unsuspecting Washington Jesus got completely wiped there.
Yeah, and CB Shield, you know, I think it's a little bit of a paw coming in from Hyperion there. The missed opportunity to go for any sort of early warding on it to the either onto the blue buff or the red buff, especially when you're playing a Kayn, is really difficult there. Cyclone going to get an Eye Seismic shove into that worked ground to get the damage there. But going back to that point, you want to be able to find out where Sir Jackson is at all times, and getting those wards are extremely effective in doing that. We're going to get a repeat gank from Jackson here. Going to be able to use that Bellows Breath to be able to stop the knockup from happening. He's still going to be down to less than half HP, and an opportunity for Sir Jackson to continue to oppress this Ornn.
I mean, honestly, Washington about the best he could do there. He's still luring a lot of pressure away. However, that damage chunk is going to be a lot, and he doesn't have his TP up. If they're able to find a kill on him, whether it's through a tower dive or if he steps up a little bit too far, his lane's going to be as good as over.
Yeah, and let's see what's happening here as Outrage is going to be able to get the knockup onto Jesus Juice once again. A repeat gank is going to result in Outrage picking up their second kill. They'll just keep on taking the buffs and the kills away from this Kayn. Man, that's got to hurt.
Yeah, that is not looking so hot if you are Hyperion right now. 2 kills onto that Jack. He is going to be so strong in that lane after that next back. Oh, I don't think we're going to find much here. Ornn, of course, looking to get a little bit of damage back. He's trying to keep that wave frozen, but he knows the second Outrage TP's back, his lane has just gotten so much harder. On the bright side, I guess, Sir Jackson hasn't got any of the kills. The jungle is still relatively even. Of course, those 2 assists do make up for a bit, and he's coming back with the Sheen. But overall, it's not the worst for your other lanes if you're Hyperion. Of course, they're content with chilling and just farming up, especially that Victor. But top lane right now is going to be a really risky situation to keep going to.
Well, and how we were talking about it in draft as well, the scaling potential for Outrage and for the rest of CB Shield is really interesting here. And we're looking at this build coming in. It looks like it's going to be a Blade of the Ruin King to start things off. Call of the Forge God is going to come in. Watch cycle. Call of the Forge God on the minion wave is going to be able to push out a little bit and get back without having to use teleport. But Call of the Forge God not going to be available. Outrage will get level 6 here easily. And on the other side of the rift, Jesus Juice is going to be able to pick up that first dragon. It is a Hextech Drake. Ocean Drake going to be spawning in 440. And I didn't ask you before we got into break. What do you think the Dragon Soul is going to be here?
Oh, you know it's got to be Cloud Soul. It's got to be the greatest soul in League of Legends history. Come on, you know you want to see a Cloud Soul this game, right?
I don't know about that. I don't want to see Cloud Soul. I want to see action. I want to see fun. And then we get action and fun with Chemtech. Let's go ahead and see that pop off. I know that it's not going to be a Chemtech Drake and Soul because I'm like 3 and 40, I think. I've like, hold on. I did 3 games last week, so I believe I'm 3 and like 43 or something like that in season 2023. I'm not doing well, so it's not going to be a Chemtech Drake. But let's find out what this is going to be for Outrage, who want to get another kill on Watch Cycle. And it is Outrage assisting in that kill. The flag will be enough, and Sir Jackson will pick up their first kill of the game.
Well, that's just so good. He was sitting there. He was freezing the wave onto Wash, going to probably push that in, deny him what looks to be 2-ish waves, and that's just going to be so much added XP into Outrage's pocket. And of course, extra gold on the side. There's already a 2,000 gold lead for CB Shield, and the bleeding needs to try to halt right now if you are the Heretics, because you want to be able to make it into that later stage of the game. You need to get to the point where Victor is ready to go.
Firefox already using that flash. Jackson does have Cataclysm available and is going to try to be able to get out of the Chaos Storm, and does! Woo-hoo! 100 HP. Jesus Juice not yet level 6 means that the J4 survives and keeps their ultimate.
And they even keeps their flash so reserved on the use of that summoner spell. Really, really impressive to see. Was confident they were going to live. And ultimately, that's going to pay off, and it's going to be interesting to see if that flash comes into play in the next 5 minutes.
Let's see if that is going to be the case. Rift Herald is now spawned up. Outrage being so strong here, close to getting that Blade of the Ruined King, means that they're going to have the opportunity to be so powerful against Watch Cycle, who has a lot of health. And we're already seeing it happen now. Watch Cycle forced to headbutt away is going to back Romeo. We're looking at a Jax that is already out of control.
Yeah, that Jax is looking so powerful. We're just watching him absolutely shred through Wash Cycle at the moment, and that's going to be something that's going to be very, very scary for Hyperion to deal with. It's hard right now, especially because Kayn still has not found their form. Of course, only 9 minutes, and you're usually not expected to by like between 11 and 13 minutes, usually going to find it. But until Kayn finds that form, Wash Cycle's pretty much on their own against that 2-0 Jax. And even when Kayn finds it, I'm not sure if the pair are going to be able to deal with that Jax alone.
Yeah, and that's, I think, the big question here is as we look back into that draft. B3 Ornn immediately countered into an R3 Jax. It's very easy for any team, especially, you know, any team with any sort of like knowledge of the draft and of where the meta is right now in League of Legends. You pick up that Jax and you're going to have a really decent time with it. The response going in with that Kayn there, unfortunately, like you said, just hasn't been able to pop off yet. Only as a Caulfield's Warhammer is behind in CS as well, up against Sir Jackson, who has been relentless on the Rift in the mid lane and the top lane in terms of ganks. Yes, they've been able to get that dragon, which is going to stabilize them a little bit, and they still have opportunities to be able to get some damage into the bottom lane with Ghost Machine and Pink Penguin, but we're still looking at a long time before things start to really come online for Hyperion Gaming and the chance for them to start to potentially take control of these team fights.
Absolutely, but even when we're looking at other lanes too for the set of CB Shield, that Jinx, of course, already up almost 20 CS in that bot lane, which is very, very good if you are CB's Induced, right? And Induced is not usually a stranger to being up ahead in CS. Of course, they have one of the most, they usually have like the best gold differential by 15 minutes out of any bot laner inside of Blue Otter Gold. And they're just proving it again in this game. And currently, though, the Amumu's looking for a realm. They're looking to try to get ahead in that mid lane, which right now is been their biggest point of contention.
Cyclone going to be in trouble. The flash forward into the bandage toss. Cyclone will go down, and it's Jesus Juice that'll pick up the kill. Meanwhile, we got the response from Sir Jackson, Outrage, and Arc Boulder. That's the hostile takeover! Coming in, landing it in onto Jesus Juice, but they won't be able to pick up that kill. It's a 1-for-1. Both mid laners go down.
Ultimately a 1-for-1. However, CB Shield going to start heading over to that Herald. Most likely going to pick it up, and that's going to be even more added gold into the pockets of Hyperion. Of course, that dragon going to be spawning real soon. Right after that Herald, I imagine. Both teams going to try to contest that Ocean Drake, which is spawning in 30 seconds time. Jax getting his third kill. Next back, I'm confident they're going to have that Bork ready to roll. And it's going to be a really tough fight if you're CB Shield of that dragon, should they commit the Jax.
Yeah, and we're just seeing a masterclass right now for Outrage. I would have actually preferred to see, as I see Outrage go down. Actually, maybe not. Maybe not.
Oh my
Very
God.
close. Very close. Watch Cycle will get the headbutt and the kill.
They found it. Now, that Victor's going down. Probably a guaranteed dragon if Sir Jackson can get to it in time. However, that Ornn getting a pretty sizable shutdown. 300 gold to the Ornn. Still definitely going to be a sizable amount of gold down in that lane. Still down almost 1,000 gold. However, it's a start. It's a start at getting your footing and being able to start defending yourself in your lane and not just having to hide under that T1 turret.
Classic caster curse coming in by me. Outrage, I apologize for my behavior once again. CB Shield is still up by about 2.5k gold and doesn't look like there's going to be a start for Dragon at the moment. Rift Herald Shelly is still available for Sir Jackson to either start to really push forward the issue in the mid lane or in the top lane. what I was trying to get at before Outrage ends up going down was that there was a chance for CB Shield to just give the Jax, just give Outrage the Rift Herald and start to push forward against Ornn even higher. You already can see, even though they got the gold, Wash Cycle's still going to go down here, and that's an easy kill for this Jax.
Of course, that Jax came back to lane with the Bork. Maybe killing Outrage was not the best idea, because now he is ready to just stomp that top lane, right? That Bork is such a powerful pickup into the Ornn. He's just going to be relatively unfightable. And even this Kayn coming up there to try to get him off the wave might be a very, very scary idea.
Well, what can I say? Even a pig poops out a truffle every now and again. And I pick up a Chemtech Drake and another Dragon Soul on my tally. I don't believe it. I don't believe my eyes. I can't believe that I got a Dragon Soul correct. And I can't believe that we're going to see 2 flashes drop in the mid lane. Sir Jackson going to go for it, sending it in the mid lane. Not going to go for that Cataclysm, but did force a flash out of Fire of the Fox.
Now, it is worth mentioning, Sir Jackson elected to pick up the Divine Sunderer this game, meaning going to be a lot stronger into the Ornn, going to be pretty strong to the Mumu, and if it is a Ross Kayn, going to be and it is! We get the form, it is a Ross Kayn, meaning that Divine Sunderer has a ton of value, and so does that Bork.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about that ult here from Pink Penguin a little bit there. Dropped that Curse of the Sad Mummy against AFK Boulder and Induced. Not necessarily getting anything out of it though. Does have the plated steel caps. Still just trying to be able to stop that turret from going down. I think maybe just trying to be able to stop another turret plate from falling. Overall, it does look like there were only a couple of turret plates that ended up going down there. So a little bit of a mistake from CV Shield having that Rift Herald for about 3 minutes, but unable to drop it on any of these minion waves to get that turret plate gold.
Of course, that Herald could still find some value if it's able to pick maybe a mid turret or a top turret here. First turret still hasn't been claimed. A lot of fighting, but not a lot of action when it comes to trying to open up that map.
Yeah, and speaking of a lot of fighting and a lot of action, you know, Outrage currently 4-1 right now, 93 CS. We're not really looking at the biggest numbers in terms of CS advantages here along the Rift. Highest being Cyclone, actually running at around a 9 CS a minute is above average for a gold level player. So really nicely done coming in from Outrage, recognizing that they could do that. As from Cyclone, as Outrage is actually going to get hit by the Call of the Forge God, is going to be in trouble, but it's not going to be enough. Outrage will pop the ultimate and will take another kill against Wash Cycle, who will go back to base.
That's a 5-1 Jax, if you will. That is outrageous to see here, as Outrage is literally entering his final boss form, feeling like an Elden Ring boss, ready to go. Wash Cycle trying to find any way he can pick him off. Before, that strategy was able to work, but now a Jax with Bork, Merc Treads, and a Sheen. It is incredibly scary, even if you're holding on to that Jack show.
Yeah. I mean, despite it being one of the best mythic items in the game, it's not upgraded yet. Wash Cycle has not been able to really proc that passive yet. As we're going to get a gank now here in the bottom lane. Feathers will fly, and Ghost Machine is going to be in trouble. The seismic shove into the unraveled earth. Cyclone will pick up their second kill of the game, and Ghost Machine will go down.
Feathers will fly, but Ghost Machine will die. No flash to go. So close. About 7 seconds away from that flash being up to keep them alive. They're going to find their first death of the game. And now Cyclone getting a lot stronger, of course. Almost some extra damage onto the Kayn, but unfortunately a handshake out of the way. Jesus going to be able to just chill. But a lot of damage done. Probably both to the gold gap, and maybe even a little bit to the morale of Hyperion at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, Ghost Machine really hasn't been able to get much value out of that exhaust yet. I don't think it's been procced at the moment. If it was, it didn't get seen off screen or on screen, and it wasn't very effective there. If we could take a look at the gold really quick, I want to see where Fire of the Fox is at in terms of gold.
Fire of the Fox currently sitting at 5,900 gold compared to Victor's 5,500, but a 400 gold gap onto the side of Fire of the Fox.
Yeah, 400 gold damage there for Cyclone. I mean, that is attributed to the extra kill that they have gotten. 0, 2, and 1 comparably to the 2, 1, and 1 on the Talia. However, First Strike is at least still giving them some damage there. But Cyclone is going to be donating some gold over to Hyperion, and that's going to be the first kill for Pink Penguin, securing it for them on this squad.
On one hand, a great pick. Talia overextended without the vision, and those three were there to catch it. On the other hand, Pink Penguin, using Despair, got the kill, and I don't think that's who you want the shutdown on here. I think you definitely need it onto Jesus Juice or on to Fire the Fox.
Let's find out if that is going to be I don't think it's going to be that big of a difference maker. Getting your mythic item on your support isn't necessarily the worst thing in the world. However, let's go to this fight of the dragon. 2,400 health remaining on that Chemtech Drake. The hostile takeover is going to drop, and the smite will land on Jesus Juice, but he will die immediately. Teleport's going to give him a watch cycle, and this 4v5 is going into CB Shield's favor. Knockup's going to land onto Sir Jackson, who's going to be forced to flash back into the pit. The flag and drag back into the Cataclysm on 3 members of Hyperion Gaming. Watch cycle and Ghost Machine are low, and Juice is going to be on a killing spree, picking up the double kill, and it's 4 for 1 in favor of CB Shield.
An unofficial quadra there. 4 kills onto Induce, and that just went from a Jinx who only has a CS advantage to a Jinx who is terrifying. They got excited in that fight, and despite the gravitation field being able to stun them, they were still able to dash through pretty well the entirety of Hyperion while Jax ranged off their last member. That Cataclysm trapping so many of them, and now they just have so many threats onto the side of CB Shield. Screw CB Shield, you might as well call them CB Sword.
Well, you know, sometimes the shield is stronger than the sword. And at this point, CB is now looking at a very strong position. 600 gold bounty on Induced. And on the way out of that play, 2 turrets going to be taken down. 1 in the mid lane, 1 in the top lane. Rift Herald will be taken. The entirety of Hyperion's topside jungle, along with Shelly, will be secured, and it's going to be given over to Induce, who picks up the Kraken Slayer, picks up 2 out of the 3 items for that Infinity Edge, and now the game has started to snowball completely out of control. CB Shield picking up another kill against Ghost Machine and the Xayah. It is looking really, really good right now at the 20-minute mark.
Heretics learning that no spot on this rift is theirs if they're not under a tower. Their jungle is under threat. Of course, a lot of red wards in that top side jungle. And now that bot side having outrage there. He is fired up and ready to go. He sees 3 of them, and this fight gonna break out. They're gonna try to claim the bounty here.
Let's see if they can get it. I mean, what a stun onto Outrage here, but he's gonna drop that Grandmaster at arms. He will end up getting shut down. Shutdown going over to Wash Cycle, though. At least getting some damage in or some gold onto your Ornn. Once again, though, you would have preferred to have had that gold going over to Jesus Juice.
Yeah, it feels like the gold is going to all the wrong members of their team this late into a game. Of course, it's never bad to have gold on a top or support. But when you have a champion like Kayn, who is meant to get ahead, get that gold and steamroll, when he's not able to find that gold, he's kind of just a sitting duck.
5,000 health remaining on Baron. That is the cost of taking Outrage down. 4 seconds until he respawns. They will not be able to get it on all 5 members, but still 4 members will pick up Baron Nashor at 21 minutes. Most importantly, that's Induced picking up Baron. Means that they can go down mid lane and start to really rack up some damage here at these towers.
And of course, that extra 1,500 gold going to bring them to an 8.5k gold gap. 1.5k away from that coveted 10,000 mark where most teams really, really struggle to get back from. However, the one thing that is worth mentioning about Hyperion teams is the ornaments are going to start to roll in soon if they're able to hold on. He's Wash Cycle only a few levels away from being able to get those ornaments out. Of course, Fire the Fox, I believe, is also starting work on that Rabadon's death cap. He's going to come online soon if he can find the gold. They just have to hold out this Baron push, and that's not going to be an easy task.
Yeah, you know, that's exactly the thing here is, you know, how are they going to be able to stop this? kind of feels like CB Shield is giving them the opportunity to kind of stabilize here. We're seeing them take their jungle camps. We're not really seeing them push forward in the mid lane to really expedite this minion wave to get to that inner tower. They're going to be seen at the bottom side of the rift. Induced is the one that you're looking for here because they are the one that's going to be able to push out these minion waves. Outrage does not have the Baron buff, and while he is still a threat, it's not necessarily the most effective here, as Cyclone is going to try to get some damage in onto Fire of the Fox. That's going to be the Chaos Storm drop. Cyclone's going to be down to half HP, and now no one in the mid lane to stop Induced from being able to push forward towards that inner tower.
Yeah, Induced is by themselves, and there's not really a threat to go after them. They're feeling safe, they're feeling confident. Of course, they have the Kraken, the IE, and the Berserker Graves. Having that IE so early against the Xayah is such a nice thing to have as well. It's such a big power spike over the enemy team. And just look at the CS gap now really starting to shine for the side of Hyperion. Sorry, not for the side of Hyperion, for the side of CB Shield rather as well. In the top lane, of course, a 60 CS advantage. And in that bot lane, that 30 CS advantage as well. And it's really showing when you look at the items. Divine and Boar, Divine and Manamune, Kraken and IE. And now the second dragon claimed for CB Shield. It is 2-2 dragons. However, the advantage is firmly on one side here.
Cyclone gonna go in using that Weaver's Wall against Fire of the Fox. Does not land the seismic shove, but will be able to get the threaded volley, the massive boulder there to slow them down and get to half HP. Really do have to look at this play here from the side of CB Shield, as Outrage is going to try to get out of this one. He's going to be knocked up, and he's going to be damaged once again. That's going to be Ghost Machine coming in, and the exhaust will fly, and that will be Watch Cycle taking up that kill. Let's find out who's... Go ahead.
That is a 1-for-0 trade here. They're going to be able to find the tower on the bot side of the map. However, there's no bounty on Outrage, and they used a lot for it. It makes it a lot harder for them to defend this T3.
Baron is now down, 250 remaining until CB Shield can potentially go for that again. A win condition for Hyperion was that Chemtech Soul. However, not going to be able to get that now for another 10 minutes or so. I do want to call out, I do want to criticize a little bit here. CB Shield, you know, kind of showing us the level of play that we're seeing. Didn't really get to capitalize on that Baron. I would have loved to have seen more play towards the mid tower, that mid inner tower, to try to be able to push forward and get that inner structure down and really start to close out this game. A 10k gold lead is strong, but winning the game is much stronger, and I don't really think we got to see the most effective Baron power play from CB Shield. Not saying that it wasn't effective, they still got a dragon, they still got at least an inner tower down in the bottom lane, but, you know, could have gotten a little bit more there.
I do think I definitely agree with that. Going for that T2 mid turret is a very, very strong turret to take off the map, of course, because it just opens up so much both into the jungle and when you're going for objectives. However, having two long lanes is still a very nice situation to be in, especially with how far ahead they are. They're able to play through either side lane if they need to get into an objective. They still do have the advantage inside of the mid lane, of course. And when it comes to items, Jinx, coming out of this base, picked up the Phantom Dancer.
Moving forward here, 25 minutes into the game, a minute 17 remaining until Baron will spawn here once again. It was not at spawn immediately when Baron was taken, but at the 21-minute mark, so that's not half bad. A dragon spawning in 225. It'll be soul point for whoever's able to pick that up, and we expect to see a team fight either at Baron or at Dragon, as both those neutral objectives are potential win conditions for these teams. Moving forward, though, this is what we like to see. Setting up for a Baron play, you want to be able to get as much vision out of your opponent's jungle as possible, and that is CB Shield taking out all of the vision on that topside jungle for Hyperion.
Yeah, vision control is the name of the game sometimes, and being able to scout where anyone is in your jungle is huge, but denying it may be even bigger, especially when they have this advantage. Right? Outrage, we've already seen, has been playing the cheesy bush strategy. Someone walks by there, and he's jumping on top and assassinating them, and when you don't have vision in those bushes, you are always at risk walking into your side of the jungle, or even into the lane.
Crap! That's Ghost Machine at 1 HP. Trying to go for that Hail Mary Super Mega Death Rocket, Induced almost taking out taking out Ghost Machine. That Zaya barely surviving Fishbones there. Huge damage. Kraken Slayer, Infinity Edge, Phantom Dancer, and being able to get that inner tower to go down. You're just now seeing the amount of gold and the advantage in gold that CB Shield has. Luxury items completed as well. 2 stopwatches. 1 for Outrage, 1 for Cyclone, means that they can be even safer as they go in for these split pushes, as they go in for these Baron plays. And now that's going to be the fight beginning. Pink Penguin's going to drop the Curse of Sad Mummy and a lot of damage onto AFK Boulder, but the hostile takeover is going to land onto 3 members of Hyperion. CB Jackson's going to get the Cataclysm onto 2, and there it is. All the members are dead, and it's going to be a complete win in that team fight for CB Shield.
What a big team fight, an even bigger Cataclysm, and they just turned that so well. They knew that Hyperion had to go check that Baron and just sat there and waited for them to show up, pick them off. That Baron is going to be free as charge. They're going to be able to back, go ahead for that Ocean Drake, or sorry, that Chemtech Drake, if they want. That's spawning right now. And they also have that opportunity to try to push in the T3s and maybe find a way to close out this game 1.
The items completed for Cyclone, unable to get the Zhonya's Hourglass, but hey, still having that stopwatch is great. We're going to get it back, and that's going to be a last whisper for Induced. 5-0 and 2 on this Jinx is exactly what you're looking for. The resets are inevitably going to come. And as you predicted, Romeo, Chemtech Drake is next on the menu for CB Shields to add to their platter. And it's going to be Chemtech's Soul Point coming in. I do not expect this game to last another 5 minutes, Romeo. I do think that we're going to see CB Shield close this one out very soon.
Of course, anything is possible. It's going to be hard as hell, though, for Hyperion to hang in there this game. 13k on the side of CB Shield. However, they did just blow that Weaver's Wall. That Weaver's Wall is down for this fight, and they're looking for an angle to try to pick anyone off they can, because they know in a raw 5-on-5, they probably don't stand a chance unless things go really, really wrong for CB Shield.
It's a 0-1-4 angle. We got Outrage going into the mid lane, trying to be able to push forward into that inhibitor tower, as Induced can now start the siege at this bottom inhibitor tower. Every single one of those shots dealing a ton of damage, as a Pink Penguin is going to land. The Call of the Forge God is going to come through. Watch Cycle trying to get it, but another 4-man hostile takeover and another 4-man Cataclysm from Sir Jackson. Yes, the Chaos Storm is going to drop. Fire the Fox is going to be able to take down the J4, but that's 2 members dead on the side of Hyperion Gaming. CB Shield are looking to be able to continue to push forward, and they're going to try to get this inhibitor. Seraph's Embrace is going to pop the shield for Cyclone. He's going to go golden. Induce is going to get the reset once again, and they will escape. They will get the inhibitor tower, and they will get 2 kills.
However, you got to give it to Hyperion. Being that far behind and being able to find a 2-for-1 trade is strong. They were able to do a lot of damage to the Jinx, a lot of damage to Talia. We're seeing Fire of the Fox come online. The Nexus is still up. Their inhibs, all of them are still up. And that Baron's going to be down in 30 seconds. They've survived long enough to keep this match going, to keep scaling. The ornaments are coming out, of course. Victor has his ornament ready to go. That Zaya has the Navoris ready to go. There is still fight left in the Heretics. Not much, but they're still kicking and looking to crawl back into this game somehow, some way.
Yeah, and like you were talking about, now 3 mythic items completed here, getting the ornaments at least, coming through from Watch Cycle, who's now level 15. You've got the Rabadon's Death Cap completed there for Fire of the Fox. You saw how much damage a Victor can do to any of those members. But on the other side of that, more luxury items getting completed. The Zhonya's Hourglass has now unlocked for Outrage, along with another stopwatch on Sir Jackson, who's 2-2 and 11. With that Spirit Visage to go for a little bit of extra regen, a little bit of extra protection against that magic damage that Fire of the Fox is going to go for. 2.5 minutes remaining until the Dragon and the Baron are going to spawn here. And let's see how CB's Shield is going to be able to navigate potentially this next couple of minutes, knowing that they have 2 potential inhibitors that they can take.
Not only that, though, that next 2 minutes, even afterwards, so much objectives are up for them. Of course, the Baron, the Soul, and you have to be thinking of the Heretics. How can we prevent this? What do we do? Do we try to trade one? Do we try to steal whatever they go to? There is so much on the line in these 2 minutes if the game even lasts that long.
Oh my god, feathers will fly, and that's an immediate death on Ghost Machine. There was no CC available. Call of the Forge God was used already. I watched Cycle to try to get Outrage, who was able to flash away from it. And now, with 2 members down, CB Shield is looking to be able to potentially close out this game. They will get 2 inhibitors down. Outrage will go to the top side of the Rift to clean that up. CB Shield not feeling confident enough to try to go for the end yet, but they will at least be able to get even more damage in. The Weaver's Wall is going to separate the rest of Hyperion Gaming from being able to potentially support themselves. Jesus Juice and Wash Cycle trying to be able to do what they can, and they will be able to hold on and make sure that that tower does not go down. 8 seconds remaining until Ghost Machine and Pink Penguin will come back. The tower will survive. The inhibitors go down, but importantly, Hyperion Heretics do not lose the game just yet.
They are still alive. A minute till Baron, a minute till that Chemtech Soul is going to arrive. And now the question has to be, what are Heretics going to do? They need to keep someone in their base to try to defend it, but they also need to send 5 if they want any chance at winning a fight. Losing 2 or more members to claim an objective is almost certainly a loss here if they only get the objective. Losing the Chemtech Soul is also likely going to be a loss, although they then will have the opportunity to try to make an Elder Flip if they can stall long enough. And losing that Baron with Super Minion crashing into your base is going to make it hard as hell to survive. It looks like a split has happened here for CB Shield, though. They've sent 3 up to the top side, 2 to the Dragon. Meanwhile, all 5 committed to the Dragon. And we're seeing, as CB Shield are running down mid, they're going to look to end, and it's on Outrage to stop them from backing. This could be game right here if they find it.
CB Jackson gonna be able to come in, gonna try to find a chasm on a Ghost Machine. The feathers will fly, Induce is gonna come through, but another great hostile takeover from AFK Boulder. Induce dies! Fire the Fox is gonna be able to take down the Jinx, and Jackson will fall as well. We got Cyclone coming in. It's 1 down for both teams. And actually 2 down for the side of Hyperion. Make it 4! And it doesn't matter that you kill Induced. The wallet is too big. 17,000 gold advantage for CB Shield will be enough for them to take game 1.
That is a big game 1 if you're CB Shield here. That is exactly what you want. Opening a big series against the 3rd seeded team, really asserting some dominance if you are on the side of CB Shield. And now if you're Hyperion, the question has to be, what changes are you going to make? How are you going to regroup and go into this game 2 with a level head?
Yeah, I mean, I want to shout out Fire the Fox there. 27,000 total damage. You saw the damage, the burst that was available there from the side of Hyperion. That mid lane, I think, relatively stable throughout the stages of the game. Really, really nicely done coming in, I think, from in that angle. But a standout performance from Outrage here on this Jax. The early stages of the game completely under control, assisted by Sir Jackson on that J4, completely shutting down the top side of the Rift, making it sure that Wash Cycle was not able to enjoy his game of League of Legends. And that is what we expected coming into that one. You do have to think, how can the draft be improved a little bit here for Hyperion moving into game 2?
Yeah, there's going to need to be a seismic shift in that draft. I don't imagine that J4 is going to be let through in any capacity. That J4 felt like he was everywhere that Jesus Juice didn't want him to be. Of course, like you mentioned, Outrage popped off on the Jax. I think letting that counter pick go is what made it really difficult. I wonder if we'll see them switch sides and elect to take that red side, maybe keep that counter pick for top this side, because we did see Watch Cycle have some good moments despite being so far down. Of course, we have to remember he didn't give up those initial 2 kills in that top side in the 2v2. He was able to make it out both times and did manage to find a 1v1 angle from behind. It'd be interesting to maybe see Watch Cycle on something a little bit more aggressive. Of course, he does play things like Yorick, Scion set. Ornn's not one of his comfort picks. Maybe switch it up a bit, have him go head-to-head against Outrage. Those are some changes that could be interesting. I think the jungle change is a must. I think having A Kane really kind of put a damper on that draft because the second Kane fell behind, there wasn't a whole lot they could do in team fights we've seen. And of course, like you mentioned, Fire the Fox, they were popping off towards the end, most damage in the game, but it was so hard because of how far behind they were. It always felt like they were fighting a losing battle.
Well, we'll find out how it is going to play out here in Game 2. We will get a side swap, and we're just about ready to start the draft. We're going to take a quick break to get everything set up here. Do not go anywhere. It's going to be very quick. Jumping into Game 2 in just a moment. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody, to the Blue Water League Gold Season 9 Week 4 matchup. CB Shield taking a pretty decisive Game 1 against Hyperion Gaming Heretics, but that does not mean that they are out of this best of 3 as of yet. There is still a chance for them to take it to a Game 3 situation here. My name is Moose, and I'm joined here today by Romeo. And as we move into this second game, CB Shield going on the blue side, they're going to be banning out the Jinx that they played so well in Game 1. Hyperion is going to ban out the J4 and the Wukong as well. A lot of jungle bans in the first 3.
No surprise that J4's off the table. I think it's the best change to the bans they could have made, but I'm interested to see what the changes to Hyperion's actual comp is going to look like. I'd like to see something that's more cohesive as a team rather than kind of just only focusing on lane scaling and a little bit of the itemization, right? Now, of course, that first pick going to be the Annie. I'm expecting it to be AFK Boulder. Annie, of course, throwing in that support position. We've seen Annie pop off this season. And of course, we forgot to mention last game, Boulder didn't die a single time. A 17.0 KDA to AFK Boulder.
Really nicely done there. And, you know, I actually really like the Annie here as a flexible option that can go into the mid lane as well. It is very stable in terms of being able to get out of early game ganks. The opportunity to be able to get that stun off before level 6 is still there. And once you get level 6 and you're able to find Tibbers is going to make sure that you do not go down. So very important that CB Gaming, CB Shield as well, CB Shield, not CB Gaming, but CB Shield is going to be able to capitalize upon that wherever Annie is going to be going. Amumu is going to be played once again for Hyperion, along with that Caitlyn. Now, Caitlyn has seen a bit of a dip in terms of priority here in Season 13. At the beginning of the season, it was almost picked or banned every single game. In this one, however, it's going to be available. Also available in the ADC role is that Xayah.
However, it's looking like we might get the Varus lock-in as an answer to Amumu Caitlyn. And if these are our two bot lanes, if we're seeing Varus Annie versus Amumu Caitlyn, it could be a very bloody time bot side.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And the chance to be able to go in and get those plays in terms of getting the stuns off. Amumu does set up really nicely for that Yordle snap trap that the Caitlyn is able to drop in. And if you are able to get it, it's so impactful, so big. If you can get the added CC, the added headshot that the snap trap provides, and there's a lot of chances for Hyperion Gaming to be able to get that against a very immobile Annie and Varus. But like I stated, I'm not convinced yet that the Annie is going into the support role here, Romeo. I think that that is an elaborate ruse. Maybe not elaborate, but a ruse nonetheless. From CB Shield to potentially predict where it is going. The Varus is going to have the Change of Corruption coming in at level 6, and now we're going to get the Hecarim. Hecarim is an underrated jungler, I would say, in Season 13.
It's been coming more and more prevalent as the patches roll out. I've been seeing a lot more Hecarim in these last 2 patches. And it's one of those junglers that are just so good at keeping the tempo this season. They're able to stack their smite really, really quickly. And they always feel like they are just everywhere, especially if they're able to find a way ahead. Now, of course, the answer might be that Sylas. Of course, Sylas could go mid. However, Jesus Juice on the side of Hyperion tends to play a lot of Sylas, one of his most played champions this season. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if that's the answer they're going into Sir Jackson.
But yeah, it's a very, I don't want to say interesting. I think that it's just a uncommon pickup here in Season 13. Yes, in Season 12, we saw a little bit of that, of that Sylas coming into the jungle, and it did get some, LCS and some overseas play. It's not something that we're seeing a lot so far here in Season 13. I think it just takes a little bit of time, a little too much time to be able to be effective, and not being able to get those ganks on pre-6 is a big reason why a lot of these pre-6 hero champions, like Talia, who isn't really able to go in for ganks before they get to that level 6 mark at this point in the meta, have shifted back over to the mid lane here. But I'm excited to see if Hyperion does decide to go for that one, though. They have decided not to allow for the Jax to be played once again. They have learned from their mistakes here. They can go for something like the Ornn if they wanted to. There are still a lot of picks that CB Shield could go for in the top lane, and they're going to play a little bit more aggressively here. They'll go with the Mordekaiser instead.
I like that Mordekaiser pick. I like unlocking Wash Cycle. Mord is one of his more comfortable picks in that top pool, and I think it could be really interesting. However, Olaf unbanned. If that Olaf gets locked in, it's still going to be hell in that top lane for Wash Cycle.
And it's hovered. It's hovered, Romeo. It's hovered for sure. And they know that they can go for it, and it's going to get locked in. Yep. I think to be expected.
Now, Outrage doesn't play a lot of Olaf, but when you're into Mord, I feel like if you're going to lock in that Mord, that Olaf, no matter what, whether they play it or not, needs to get banned, just because it's such a hard matchup for Mord. You have 3 levels, or I guess like 5 levels to try to do anything, but even that's super hard in Olaf, just because Olaf is so good in that early few levels. Then the second he gets ultimate, of course, Mordekaiser's only hoping to God that Hecarim's going to come top to put him in the Death Realm. However, Sir Jackson really doesn't need to come top this game, because realistically, Olaf should just be running through running through Wash Cycle. It's kind of going to be heavily on Jesus Juice to find a way to get Mordekaiser in the game before Olaf is level 6, and that's going to be such a challenge.
Let's see how it does work out, though. It's not necessarily impossible, and with the Gangplank now coming in, you have Victor that's going into the mid lane, and Mordekaiser could potentially be roamed into the mid lane here. Gangplank coming through can be a little bit better into the Olaf, just considering the play, or just considering what you've been talking about, and I completely agree with the problem of Ragnarok being so impactful in denying that Death Realm. So Gangplank getting locked in is a decent adaptation, but that does kind of confirm some things here, Romeo. With the Victor getting locked in, we know that it's going to be the Anivara support going up against that Caitlyn Amumu. So very bloody, very immobile CB Shield bottom lane, but high impact, high damage, high CC if they are able to land it. In the mid lane, Victor versus either Mordekaiser or Gangplank. Victor is going to have a range advantage and is going to potentially be able to stack up very, very quickly to get those minions in and to get those upgrades. Hecarim going to be able, once you get level 3 and you're able to move around the map with that devastating charge, could find a lot of great gank plays against a Gangplank, against a Caitlyn, against a Mordekaiser, even up against Sylas, if they are able to find them in the jungle. There are plenty of chances here for CB Shield and for Hyperion Gaming to find those early game plays and to start off a really good game too.
Absolutely. I think this game I'm expecting to be really, really fight heavy across every lane we see. I think you're completely right. Those ganks, those timings are going to be way more important than last game, just because every lane's going to be hyperactive. I don't think there's a single side for CB, besides maybe the Victor, who isn't down to fight. I don't think anyone on Hyperion, besides maybe the GP, isn't down to fight. But of course, there is still a couple of question marks, and it's between that Sylas, Mordekaiser, and GP. Where are these champions going? When you look at Heretics, you'd assume it's going to be Mord top, Sylas jungle, and GP mid. However, we know that Mord into Olaf matchup isn't going to be fun. So are they going to send Mord mid? Or maybe they send Mord to the jungle, Sylas mid. There's so much to possibly see. Hell, we could even see maybe Sylas top into the Olaf and GP just farm mid with the Victor. I think until that's answered, there's such a giant question mark on how these lanes are going to look and how CB Shield and Hyperion are going to want to play these fights.
Well, I mean, we can go in for some general assumptions and at least try to figure out, what the idea is here for both of these squads. For Hyperion Gaming, going in with that Sylas, do have the chance to be able to get those early, or get some minion waves down, potentially scale up to level 6, get that hijack. In team fights, that hijack is actually going to have some really great effect here. You have 5 amazing ultimates that you can pick up. Summon Tibbers, the Chains of Corruption, the Onslaught of Shadows, Ragnarok, Chaos Storm, all of it can work really well with a Sylas depending on the situation here. So you're going to be able to have, your pick of the litter when it comes to that. And on the other end, on the other side of that, it's a lot of CC to keep this Varus protected. When you play Varus, you want to make sure that you have a lot of peel, you have a lot of opportunities to be able to make sure that the Varus is going to be able to stay safe, because they are extremely immobile. And if you look at the composition, CB Shield has a point-and-click CC in the Annie, a pretty much guaranteed CC from the Hecarim, which is unstoppable from the Onslaught of Shadows. You've got the Gravity Well from the Victor, and the Varus having their own Chains of Corruption as well. It's really, really good to see all of that CC to keep this Varus protected. So we are in for a treat here, Romeo. Super excited to see how this game 2 is going to be played out. Before we get into it, though, we have to finish spectator delay, and I got to ask you, Romeo, what is going to be the Dragon Soul and Rift here in game 2?
All right, well, I need to stick to my guns. They got the Headless Horseman. He runs super fast, so clearly it's a sign of this Cloud Soul.
Okay, so you're supporting CB Shield because they have the Hecarim. You want to give them that Cloud Soul. It would be really fun to see. That would be fun for sure. I am going to go with Hextech here. I think that it is going to allow for a lot more action as we move into the mid game, just with the ability to be able to move around the Rift a little bit more. So very excited to see what happens here as we move into game 2. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, it will be game 2 here for this Blue Otter League Gold Season 9 Week 4 matchup. Before I take you to that quick break, though, I do want to take this time to shout out Blue Otter Gaming. They are a premier esports organization. You guys know how amazing they are, and you guys know that this is not the only Blue Otter League that is here in Season 13, the Winter 2023 split. They have an IBS League, they have a Gold League, they have a Platinum League, they have a Diamond Masters League, and they are showing it all off here on this Twitch channel. If you guys want to stay up to date on all of the content that Blue Otter League is putting out, please do not hesitate to follow and subscribe to the Twitch channel, follow the Twitter, and join the Discords so that you are able to stay up to date on all of the exciting Blue Otter League action that's going on throughout the community. Of course, none of this would be possible without the production of our producer, Matthew. So if we can get some thank you Matthews in the chat. that would be greatly appreciated. With all of that out of the way, we're going to take that quick break. When we return, it will be the start of the second game. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody, to the BOL Gold League Season 9, Week 4 matchup. Got Hyperion Gaming Heretics on the back foot, looking to be able to find a way back into this series by taking a Game 2 victory off of the side of CB Shield. And this is my first look at New Hecarim here. I don't know what I'm looking at when it comes to that splash art. It looks really weird. Not a fan.
I gotta ask, why does it look more like Thresh's death sentence than Hecarim?
I don't know.
It looks more like the lantern, no? Like, you see it, right? Like the little hook coming out at the top?
No, oh my god. No, now it's not gonna get out of my head. Now it's not gonna get out of my head, Romeo. This is your fault. But what's not your fault is the amount of I think the amount of expectation that CB Shield is bringing into this game in terms of their potential to take this game relatively easily, considering how well they played in game 1. Yes, I think that game one did have a slight issue in terms of the draft, but this one, you've got the opportunity to be able to deal a lot of damage throughout the majority of this game. Watch Cycle with a chance to be able to get in some redemption if they're able to get this win against Outrage and this Olaf. Taking a look at the summoner spells, it is still a one teleport to one teleport game. Outrage going in with that flash ghost. Cyclone going in with that teleport flash as we get a flash from Induced in the bottom lane. AFK Boulder is going to be forced to flash as well. And that's Jesus Juice starting things off strong with this Silas.
So much has happened 2 minutes into this game already. Double flashes burn. That is huge if you are Hyperion. That is what you want to see this early in the game. It's going to allow you to apply a lot of pressure onto that bot lane. Jesus Juice using that Silas to grid up. Oh my god.
Okay, Sir Jackson is in trouble trying to be able to get out of it. Cyclone not able to get there quickly enough. That is going to be first blood for the side of Hyperion. And now Cyclone already using that flash is going to be dying next. Who's going to pick up the kill? It's going to go towards Fire of the Fox. Meanwhile, in the top lane, Outrage is going to get the 1-for-1. It's a 3-for-1 across the rift.
What an opening here for Hyperion. Olaf was trying to bully that Mord. Mord able to pull it back. Of course, Cyclone got caught out a little bit too far chasing the kill. They get that till the mid lane. And of course, Amumu picking up the first blood. They are currently slightly, but still winning every lane at the moment. That is such a big difference from the opening. They have made a case to maybe get that first game ever off a CB Shield with this opening.
Really good opening there. I mean, obviously that is exactly what you want. You get the extra 1,000 gold off of the kills, plus the assist gold as well, which is really, really effective in allowing for you to start to just get your game and to get your team into a winning position. What does that mean for the side of CB Shield? It means you got to play a little bit smarter. It means you got to recognize that, hey, they are going to have a little bit of an item advantage here in the early stages of the game. However, definitely not out of this game by any stretch of the imagination.
Oh god, no. Their team... The thing is, I'd still argue that CB Shield have the slightly better team comp, and I think that's really going to start to show once Induced and AFK Boulder hit 6. That Chains of Corruption, of course, with the scariest bear around Tibbers, is going to do so much damage in that bot lane. If that Curse the Sad Mummy doesn't land on both of them, they're able to pick one off before they can even break out those ultimates. Of course, in the top, we're still seeing Outrage. Despite taking that early death, he did find the 1-for-1. And his foot's heavy on that gas pedal. He's still running into Watch Cycle at a mile a minute. Of course, the biggest difference we're kind of seeing right now is that mid lane with the kill, but it's almost entirely taken back by the CS of Cyclone. Cyclone doing a very good job at keeping a small CS advantage.
Boots actually picked up first here for Cyclone as well, you know, wanting to be able to move around that. And I think that I respect the fact that you do not want to get hit by those barrels, right? You want to be able to make sure that you can get the CS and get out and not get that burst damage that Fire the Fox could potentially put down. And so I respect going for those early boots, especially since you died first. You want to get something on the way back. Maybe he didn't have enough gold for an amplifying tome, but regardless of that, going to have them now. Sheen is the advantage for Fire the Fox, though. And that's, I think, the big difference maker for Fire is that he can get a little bit more oomph into those shots if he is able to land them. Serrated Dirk completed there for Induced, though. Cleanse is back up online, and getting that Serrated Dirk is a big power spike in the laning phase for Avaris, and is going to start to be able to deal some damage in onto Ghost Machine and Pink Penguin.
Of course, Caitlyn's got that Noon Quiver as well, a sizable item for Caitlyn to have this early on. It's a big war, and of course, I have to break the bad news to you. The first dragon of the game is that Hextech dragon.
Yeah, I mean, to be expected. I can only get one dragon prediction a game, a series, if that. I totally get it. It's going to be Mordekaiser going down, though, in the top lane. Outrage expected to be effective there in the top lane, does end up getting it. Pink Penguin's going to drop the exhaust onto Induced, but does not land the bandage toss. Induced is now in prime position to potentially find some damage on the Pink Penguin, but instead they back away. Jesus Juice level 4 is going to try to come in with the abscond, forcing the flash out of AFK Boulder.
That is a good flash force. It also does kind of save Pink Penguin from the sticky predicament they're in, but a fight still might be raging on here in the bot lane. The problem is Penguin does not have a lot of health to play with if they try to throw an advantage to us. It looks like they're just backing off. That dragon, of course, still standing nice and tall. Herald gonna be up in about a minute's time as well. Objectives are coming into play. And of course, both teams looking very, very similar when it comes to itemization and gold.
Yep, and looks like it's going to be another Blade of the Ruined King start here for Outrage, as the Leeching Leer is going to get picked up by Washed Cycle. Now remember, that was a kill, a solo kill for Outrage once again there in the top side. They've got the CF advantage. They have started to begin the onslaught of damage that they can come in with. As we actually going to get a play in the mid lane, Sir Jackson coming through. That's Chaos Storm going to drop as Pink Penguin's going to be there. Now Cyclone in trouble, going to be forced to flash out of the way. The onslaught of shadows coming through against Jesus Juice and Pink Penguin. That's a double kill for the Akram. That's another kill. AFK Boulder picking that one up. As CB Jackson's going to be caught in the death realm. Can he get out of it? It is going to be tough. He will not. Wash Cycle will at least be able to pick up a kill on the back end of that play.
It is certainly nice to be able to pull something back after so many people went down to Sir Jackson. I feel like Panic at the Disco should have wrote a song about him and not Miss Jackson after what we just seen. Topside, though, Outrage going to be getting a lot of plating. I think he's probably going to find his second plating there. Going to be able to pull up a lot because he was able to sit there and just farm minions, get that plating. GP going to try to pick up the wave, get some CS back. And we're back to a little bit more of a peaceful rift, but it seems like Cycle and Cycle and Fox have switched lanes temporarily here. I would have been interested to see maybe the Mordekaiser start matching that Victor rather than committing to staying and matching that Olaf, because that Olaf still going to be able to run through that Death Realm.
I mean, with Death Realm not available at the moment, it's not necessarily the biggest change, because now you don't have that opportunity to be able to drop Outrage into it. You don't have the opportunity for it to get cleansed with that Ragnarok. On the other hand of that, I would agree. I think it would have been nice to see maybe Wash Cycle go up against Cyclone a little bit, but I think that Fire the Fox is playing as well as he can in the matchup against Cyclone there. Despite that, I think playing well and at least getting some sort of, presence in the lane because of the barrels, it is still a CS advantage and a gold advantage for the side of CB Shield. Despite getting those early kills, CB Shield has been able to rack up almost a 2,000 gold lead because of the response, and it's going to be really difficult, I think, for CB Shield to lose control of this game, considering how effective they have been here in the early game.
Yeah, CB Shield have been playing very consistently. They've just picked up that Hextech Drake. Mountain Drake going to be the second Drake on the Rift. A nice Drake if you're a champion like Olaf, if you're a champion like Mordekaiser, even Silas and Mumu benefit from it pretty greatly. It's probably going to be a relatively contested Drake, but right now it seems like the teams are kind of lining up with that Herald. We're seeing that Mordekaiser start to move towards that mid lane. They're trying to contest the scuttle, but with Hecarim and Olaf in the area, it's a terrifying fight to take. Of course, Olaf has that Tiamat. He's working towards what might be Ravenous, I think. Oh, wait a minute here.
Okay, a lot of damage going in onto Cyclone as Jesus Juice will drop the Chaos Storm. Fire the Fox will utilize the orange to stay alive, and that is what you want to see here for the side of Hyperion. But can this be Sir Jackson finding a play against Jesus Juice, who has no mana? You have no mana! You have no mana! And Sir Jackson will be able to pick up that kill, but the Ignite is going to proc him down, and that's a shutdown for the side of Fire the Fox. They can get a 2-for-1 in the extended play.
Just a shutdown onto a GP. Now that is the champion that they've been looking to get a shutdown on these last couple of games. Of course, that Essence Reaver already driven out, that Ignite picking up the kill. They don't really have enough to get that Herald off of it because of Jackson being able to take down Jesus Juice. But overall, a very favored play to the side of Hyperion. That is looking good if you are Hyperion, but now another fight breaking out.
Yeah, Outrage, I mean, just continuing to push Wash Cycle out of the lane. It's under the immediate back. It's been so rough for Wash Cycle here in this series. The poor guy has been countered in every single one of these games, and it's not just a soft counter, it's a hard counter in each one of these games, and that's, I think, just really difficult to see, and it's going to be difficult, I think, for the opportunity for, for them to be able to come back from that. Ritzmaker is going to be up here relatively soon, but hold that thought. We got Sir Jackson potentially going to be in trouble. The gravity well is going to drop as we get a call of the Curses that Mummy landing, and that's going to be Sir Jackson going down. Jesus Juice will take one, and Pink Penguin will take another.
It is another 2-for-1 for Hyperion. The fights are looking very strong in their favor. However, the goal difference still relatively the same. Outrage still trying to keep an advantage extended for them if they can. Of course, that Herald still untouched. The team's rotating over to it. They're going to have a minute and a half to use it if they take it. However, with Outrage still up, he's applying that pressure. AFK Boulder, he's rotated mid. They're just trying to keep that Herald alive till that 14-minute mark so nobody can claim plating. Of course, at that 14-minute mark, oh my god.
Okay, Ghost Machine gonna be forced to flash away. The Ace of the Hole will drop both Induced and Ghost Machine at 1 HP. Neither of them have the flash available, and that's gonna be very close for both of them, as Outrage is gonna once again drop some damage against Wash Cycle, and not even attempting to use that Death Realm there. It has stabilized in terms of gold, though. Because of that shutdown and because of the extra kills that Jesus Juice and Fire the Fox were able to pick up in the last couple of fights, it's now back to an even game gold-wise. 21.8k gold pretty much across the Rift. A little bit of a gold advantage in favor of CB Shield, and that is attributed to the CS advantages that we're seeing in the mid lane, the jungle, and in the bottom lane.
Oh, another interesting maneuver there from Pink Penguin. We seen that last game as well. It was a little bit questionable of that flash. However, Herald picked up for CB Shield. That dragon spawning in 50 seconds. It could be the second dragon for CB Shield if they can pick it up. However, the one thing we're right about is it's definitely going to be a contested dragon. Hyperion setting up for it already, and that Rift Herald going to be dropped. Going to claim some last second plating for the Olaf. For the Hecarim, they get 2 additional plating, and it looks like they might be trading first turret for that dragon, although they still have 30 seconds to get there if they want.
Yeah, I think it's going to be the Dragon take going to be given over to Hyperion Gaming. I think that that's a very expected trade there. I think it's a reasonable trade, especially for Outrage. If they can get the second headbutt, barely getting that, almost getting that second headbutt there, Wash Cycle, the drag will be enough to be able to drop that. Shelly getting that second headbutt would have been, I think, just phenomenal for them. But you might be right here, Romeo. No, Sir Jackson's not going to be in the area, so I assume that the Mountain Drake is going to go towards the side of Hyperion Gaming if they want to pull the trigger and actually go for it. This is the chance now where I get to get some second chance points, and I'm going to go for another potential chance to predict the Dragon Soul here. I'm going to double down. I'm going to say that it's another Chemtech Drake here, Romeo.
It's fine. I'm telling you, Hecarim needs to run fast. Olaf needs to run fast. I'm calling the Cloud because I want to see some speed. I got a need for speed, if you will. However, on this Rift, there is a need for blood. It's going to be a 5 versus 5 for this Mountain Drake, and a 5 versus 5 can sway the map in a big way. It starts now as both teams enter the river, and Dragon has started. This is going to be quick, and it's going to be bloody.
Yeah, that's a lot of damage coming in from the onslaught of shadows. Cyclone's going to come in and pick up 1 kill. That's AFK Boulder picking up the second one, and the team fight is going towards the side of CB Shield. Fire the Fox is going to go down. Outrage is going to be on a killing spree. No one takes the dragon yet, but Watch Cycle has no way to be able to go up against Outrage here, who still has Ragnarok. What an onslaught of shadows from Sir Jackson.
It was a huge fight. Also a great Chaos Storm from Cyclone. And one thing to note, though, Firefox pulling back some of that gold, hopping the wall, barreling, finding 2 members of CB Shield to take with him, trying to keep that contest going, but ultimately their team was not strong enough to keep that Mountain Drake contested. And because of that, they paid the price a little bit.
What is Pink Penguin doing? He's gonna drop another kill for the side of CB Shield Outrage will go for that Ragnarok, and now is Outrage and Cyclone potentially trying to be able to go against Jesus Juice. They've got the shielding, they've got the stun! Oh, it's Sir Jackson that comes in and secures 2 kills for the side of CB Shield. What a disaster there for the side of Hyperion Gaming.
Yeah, Pink Penguin got canceled as quick as Club Penguin there. And it's gotta hurt a little bit. Of course, the kill's tied up, but the gold, like you were saying earlier, the CS difference, the tower difference have led to so much extra gold from CB Shield, proving that even if the game gets bloody, they're still going to be finding these advantages. That's why they're top of the table. That's what makes this team so hard to bring down. It feels like they always know how to pull themselves ahead. However, a lot of bounties on the board for Hyperion. If they can kill Outrage, if they can kill Sir Jackson, if they can kill Cyclone, that's a lot of gold in their pocket. And furthermore, we see somebody who's coming to light, a hero in the mist. Last game, we seen Firefox do a ton of damage on Victor. They're playing GP, and this time, they're very ahead. They might be the most ahead player on this Rift at 5-2. It is a very large amount of gold sitting into the greedy Pirates' pocket.
A lot of gold, a lot of damage, and a lot of potential here as we move into the later stages of the game. Mid-game is where we get to see the Gangplank start to really shine, and you get that burst damage on those barrels. My word, you're going to be able to pop induced AFK Boulder Cyclone if they land. And that's the big question. Can you land those boulders? It's going to be up to Jesus Juice and for Pink Penguin to drop their CC to make sure that they can't move anywhere so that those barrels can get procced. It's super important that that comes in, and that is going to require some extreme coordination. They got to make sure that they land them effectively. They got to make sure that they get that damage in, because if they don't, there's going to be a point where CB Shield is just going to be able to run away with this game. Outrage is going to be uncontested in the side lanes. Wash Cycle cannot do anything to stop him at any stage of the game here, Romeo. And we're seeing it still happen with the lane getting pushed up so much. Outrage is just able to have his run of the mill there in the top lane here, and there's really not much the Mordekaiser or Hyperion Gaming have been able to do about it yet.
Not yet, but with that GP scaling so hard, with him getting all this gold, there is a world where he might be able to find an angle to lead Outrage. Oh my god, here's a big engage!
Yeah, Penguin's gonna come through, and that's gonna be an onslaught of shadows, dropping the damage on the Pink Penguin. AFK Boulder's gonna stack the CC on top of it with Tibbers, and now Cyclone's coming in as well. That's gonna be Jesus Juice at less than 30% HP. Tibbers will fall, but that's gonna be all 5 members of CB Shield now in the mid lane. Baron is spawning in 46 seconds. Pink Penguin is the only one that went down. So Baron might not be on the table here, but it's a power play for the next 10 seconds.
It is certainly a power play for them. Unfortunately for Hyperion, that Chains of Corruption from the Silence didn't do a whole lot. They did burn some summoners on the side of Hyperion, but not enough for it to really be all that effective. Of course, Flash burnt from Penguin in that fight. That Rift Herald had spawned, but in 20 seconds, it's going to disappear for that Baron. However, it is an Inferno Soul this game as well. CB Shield has a big win con if they can find it, because right now damage has been the name of this game with how much fighting has happened. How much just swinging of the axes, of the lasers, everything across this rift. The barrels have been exploding. If they can find that soul, it could be a massive advantage for CB Shield, more than they already have right now.
Yeah, I mean, in 10 minutes, or sorry, not in 10 minutes, in potentially 6 minutes, they are able to pick that one up. Remember, there was a team fight for that second dragon. I was not predicting a dragon fight, a team fight there in that last encounter. I thought that it was going to be taken immediately there by Hyperion, and we were going to be at 1-1 dragons. But because CB Shield has been able to get that win condition available, getting that soul point should be top priority here, and that is what we're seeing in terms of map and rift control. River going to currently be in the hands of CB Shield with wards at the blue buff path, and looks like there is some deep warding that's going to be able to come in as well, recognizing where Ghost Machine and Pink Penguin are at. Look to see where Pink Penguin is going to be to maybe find an angle for that bandage toss, for that Curse of the Sad Mummy, so that Ghost Machine and Fire the Fox can start dealing that damage.
Now, of course, it is worth mentioning Olaf still in that top side. It's pretty well a free dragon for CB Shield. A curious give up, but they're going to trade it for Baron. if they can take it in time. They're taking it awfully slow, though, and they're going to be forced off of it from that GP ultimate. That's really, really good if you're CB Shield. You get that first dragon for you. It's a nice dragon to have. That Inferno Dragon, of course, going to increase their damage by quite a bit. Although I believe with the new patch, it is slightly less than before, but still a pretty large damage gap. They're starting it again.
They are, and there is no vision on it. That control ward stopping Hyperion from recognizing that CB Shield is going for it. They are not responding to this, Romeo. The extended play to give them Dragon and to get Baron has now resulted in Baron Nashor, 22-minute Baron take for CB Shield. Once again, this Baron getting taken 5 minutes, pre-5 minutes, pre-3 minutes before it was spawned in this series. Last game, it was taken at 21 minutes. This game, it was taken at 22. Very impressive and a very sly play coming in from CB Shield.
Just so crafty from the top dogs of Blue Otter Gold. The top dogs of the Demacian division being able to sneak that Baron. It's really impressive, honestly, to see that. And it's going to give them a large advantage. That 1.5k gold does so much for them. And on top of that, they're going to start looking to knock even more map pressure down. They already took the T1. I imagine we're going to look to take the side lane T2s again, because they seem to like sending the outrage top. I'm wondering if we're going to see Induce go to the bottom and have that 4-1, or if we're going to get the 1-3-1. However, one thing's for sure, they will be looking to go tower smashing in these next 3 minutes.
Yep, we're going to see the start of a potential 1-3-1 here with Cyclone going into the bottom lane. Outrage going to be in the top lane, just continuing to deal damage there, but Cyclone is going to be in trouble, going to be forced to flash away and will be able to get out. However, in the top lane here, Outrage is going to be in a 3v1 situation, a 4v1 situation. Outrage gonna drop that Ragnarok and is gonna try to be able to get away from all of that damage. The exhaust is gonna drop. That's gonna be Outrage trying to get out. He's gonna drop the axes. He doesn't know what he wants to do. He's gonna be in the death realm this time, and he does not have a way out of it. He will potentially go down. He will go down. Revenge for Washed Cycle, but at what cost to the base of Hyperion? They get one tower in the bottom lane. They get a ton of damage to that tower in the inhibitor, and they get the inner tower in the mid lane. I think that that's a trade they will definitely take.
Oh yeah, they might lose that shutdown, but being able to take 2-2, T3, and then a T2 mid is so good for them, especially when that next Inferno Dragon's up in 2 minutes. They have so much map pressure created, and last game we already see what happens when they have that map pressure. You can see the blue wards going down everywhere. There's so much vision being established. It's being walked right over for CB Shield here. They have a trace on almost every member of Hyperion Heretics at the moment, and that is crucial information to have 24 minutes into the game.
Baron is going to be down in about 20 seconds or so. The damage has been done. Inhibitor exposed in the bottom lane is going to be something that Outrage could potentially try to go for moving into this next phase of the game. 25 minutes in. We've gotten some big items getting picked up for both teams. Navori Quickblades coming in for Fire the Fox. Yomu's coming through for Induce. Decided to go for an Eclipse route first before going for that. And is on their way to being able to get that Muramana. 297 stacks on that Tear of the Goddess, and has most of the components completed for it. Meanwhile, Shurelia's is going to be the pickup here for AFK Boulder, deciding to try to go in and be that speedy girl to drop that Tibbers in, to get that stun, and to find that damage, and slowing down everybody with that Rylai's Crystal Scepter.
Yeah, that Rylai's could do a lot of work, especially into people like Caitlyn, especially into people like GP, who, if you're able to slow them down, they're kind of screwed, especially when those oranges have to be conserved for the hard CC that their team possesses quite a bit of. Their team just has a ton of slows and CC on the side of CB Shield. And speaking of which, that's going to make it very, very hard Hyperion to go into them here. They're set up very, very nicely in every choke point to claim this third Inferno Drake and put them on Soul.
see what they're going to be able to do with it, though. 5 seconds remaining until Dragon spawns. Dragon Control going to go over to the side, or River Control going to go over to the side of CB Shield as the wards are going to drop. That's going to be CB Jackson only getting one with that onslaught of shadows as Pink Penguin gets a big curse to the side. Mummy going to go right back in, though, and is now in trouble. Induced is not getting targeted, and Sir Jackson's going to be able to take down Watch Cycle. That's going to be a double kill for Sir Jackson. 4 members of this squad dying, and Fire the Fox trying to be able to get away. AFK Boulder's gonna get Timbers dropped. It's a triple kill for Sir Jackson, and it actually might even be the game.
Yeah, that's an ace. They're going to look to try to push to the end. 10 seconds until Amumu spawns, 20 seconds on the rest of the team. The T3 turret mid is going to fall. Will CB Shield remain undefeated here? The inhib goes down. They're still looking to push as 5. The first Nexus turret going down. Still 10 seconds on the timers. It's looking like it's going to be it. That Nexus is exposed. Nothing Penguin can do. And that's going to be game as CB Shield remain undefeated at the top of the table in Demacia.
Really nicely done there, and a good play, I think, coming in from the side of CB Shield, finding the angle for the onslaught of shadows. Had it landed on all 5, that team fight would have been far easier for CB Shield to have been able to unlock, but it was Induced who was able to just free fire onto multiple members of Hyperion, but without getting any CC of any kind, that resulted in them being able to pick up that ace and that win. They got what they wanted on the bottom side of the rift from being able to get those inhibitor turrets down. They got what they wanted at the Dragon Pit by getting the team fight that they were looking for. They got the ace that they were looking for, and they knew that they could end. That is that decisiveness that you need to be seeing here if you want to be a top tier team. So really, really nicely done coming in from the side of CB Shield.
Yeah, absolutely. It really just shows how well they mesh together, both as individual players and as a team. It feels like even when the game's a little bit behind or even, they keep their composure, they know what they want to do, and they just play to their game plan through and through, and ultimately, it's what's brought them so much success. They're now looking at an 8-0 game record, 4-0 series records, and of course, that's going to bring Hyperion down a little bit. It's their spot, it can still be contested. Of course, Hyperion has still had quite a solid run here in Blue Otter Gold, but with the loss to CB Shield, they're now looking at a 2-2 series record. Their wins as well have been close wins. It's going to be interesting to see what the rest of the Demacia group looks like going forward, because there's so many teams in contention for those 3rd and 4th spots to get into playoffs. However, with this win, I think it's safe to say CB Shield is looking like they're going to be a top contender from the Demacian group.
I agree, and you know, looking and going 4-0 in any group stage, I believe that that's 7. There's 7 teams in each group.
I believe it's 8. I think
it's
8.
8.
Yes.
If you get 4-0, I mean, you get that 500 on your win-loss ratio. That, you know, almost pretty much guarantees a spot in the playoffs there. And I think CB Shield recognizing that, they are going to be able to, you know, now look to go for seeding. It is all about making sure that they get the best seed moving in to the playoffs so that they have the best chance of making it to grand finals where you can start to make that money. So, you know, on that side of thing, I think CB Shield showing us what they can do once again and being a really good team here and making their organization, CD Gaming, who has been, you know, a mainstay within the amateur community for many years, very proud. Very, very nicely done.
Now, it is worth mentioning, looking at Hyperion, this game, too, was a lot better for them. Changes were made. They were trying to adapt against the top team in the league. That game, too, looked a lot better for them. They were trying to bring some fight to CB.
I think so. And I think Hyperion putting in a little bit of work there, and especially being able to get some kills and some advantages and showing us that they weren't giving up. You know, they made the chances, they took the risks, and they went for the opportunities to try to go for some risky plays. They tried to go for some spicy draft picks, and well, it didn't work out this time. With a little bit more cohesion, especially I think in the draft, if they have a little bit better of a drafting potential and they know more of what they want, we're gonna see Hyperion, I think, have a much better chance of winning games, because it really felt so sad there for Wash Cycle on the top side of the Rift, getting countered so heavily in both games. Might have to find a little bit of a different drafting strategy in order to make sure that that doesn't happen, because, you know, people say topside isn't the most exciting lane, but it has such an impact on the outcome of games, because the winner of the top side of the map has control of the split pushing lane, and that is super impactful as you move into the mid to late game.
Yeah, and we've seen it both times. Outrage was a mainstayer for CB Shield, was able to do so much in both games as that Olaf, as that Jax, because he was able to lock in the counter pick and play it successfully.
Really nicely done there. But with that being said, it's going to be a quick 2-0 here for the side of CB Shield. Next week is going to be week 5, and we're going to be going into the home stretch of the regular season. We're going to be back again, same time, same channel, 5 p.m. Wednesdays. Of course, check out Blue Otter's Platinum, Master, and IBS leagues throughout the week. You can follow myself, you can follow Romeo, you can follow Matthew, our producer, on Twitter. Follow the Twitter of Blue Otter League, and of course, follow and subscribe to the Twitch channel so you guys support and stay up to date with all of the content that is being presented to you in this winter 2023 split. On behalf of all the players, the coordinators, the staff here at Blue Otter League, Matthew, Romeo, and myself, this has been Blue Otter League Gold Season 9. Have a great day, everyone. Take care, and we'll see you guys next week.